The elevator plunged into darkness between the 42nd and 43rd floors. Rebecca Hayes gripped the cold metal rail, her prosthetic leg locked. Beneath a charcoal suit that had commanded 100 boardrooms, 28 years old, youngest female CEO in Silicon Valley, alone in ways that went deeper than the blackout wrapping around them. The emergency lights flickered on, dim, orange, insufficient. That's when she saw them, a maintenance worker with paint under his fingernails, and a little girl clutching a worn backpack. "Mom says people who work really hard get special powers," the child whispered, staring at the place where Rebecca's left leg met carbon fiber. "Is that your superpower?" Harper Bennett, 7 years old, no fear in those eyes. Her father, Lucas, stood behind her, calloused hands steady on her shoulders, watching Rebecca's throat work against tears she hadn't allowed in a decade. 60 seconds until the doors opened. 10 years of armor cracking. They didn't know it. But that elevator would demand everything. The empire, the isolation, the woman she'd become to survive. Rebecca had built her fortress deliberately. The penthouse on the 48th floor stretched across 3,000 square ft of glass and steel, overlooking a city that never questioned her authority. She'd become CEO of Catalyst Technologies at 24, growing it to 300 employees in 4 years. The numbers defined her revenue growth, market valuation, awards lining her office walls. What didn't appear in Forbes or TechCrunch was the other number, the one she counted each night, when she came home to silence and removed the prosthetic leg that cost more than most people's cars. 10 years since the accident that took her leg and the boy, who'd promised to stay. He'd sent a text from the hospital. "I can't do this." "I'm sorry." Something inside her had calcified into stone. She rebuilt herself the way she'd later rebuild companies. Methodically, ruthlessly. Stanford in 3 years instead of 4. Walk, then run, then conquer every room with confidence that made people forget she was anything other than brilliant and untouchable. She dressed to conceal the prosthetic, moved to minimize her gait, built a life where nobody got close enough to see her remove it at the end of the day. Her office reflected this angular. Nothing soft. Awards everywhere. She'd beaten every odd. The price was loneliness. But loneliness was safer than vulnerability. The morning after the elevator incident, Rebecca arrived at her office at 6:30. Her assistant wouldn't be in for another 2 hours. She made coffee with the precision she applied to everything. Measure, grind, pour water, heated to exactly 200 degrees. These small controls mattered when so much else felt chaotic. The board meeting went smoothly. European expansion approved. Quarterly earnings exceeded projections. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Everything was under control. Then she saw him through the glass wall. Lucas Bennett pushing a maintenance cart. His daughter beside him with that worn backpack. School must have ended early. Rebecca watched Harper say something that made her father laugh, his whole face transforming with unguarded joy. The sound traveled through the glass, high and bright and completely unburdened. She told herself to look away. Instead, she stood, moved to the glass. Lucas caught her staring, said something to Harper, then guided her toward Rebecca's office door. Harper knocked, tentative but determined. Lucas opened it with an apologetic expression. "Miss Hayes, Harper wanted to apologize for yesterday. I told her she shouldn't have asked about your leg like that." The girl stepped forward, solemn. "I'm sorry if I made you sad. Dad says I asked too many questions. Sometimes." Rebecca looked down at this small person who'd seen through her in 60 seconds. "You didn't make me sad," she heard herself say. "You surprised me. Nobody's ever called it a superpower before." Harper's face lit up. "But it is. You can probably kick really hard with it, and it never gets tired like regular legs, and it looks like something from the future." Lucas placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder. "We should let Ms. Hayes get back to work, baby." But Harper wasn't finished. "Do you have other superpowers? Dad says really smart people can see things other people miss." Rebecca surprised herself by laughing. Actually laughing. Something genuine that felt rusty from disuse. "What grade are you in, Harper?" The girl's enthusiasm dimmed. "Second grade." "It's okay. The work is easy, but some of the kids are mean sometimes. They say Dad can't afford the right clothes for me and that I shouldn't bring him to school events because he's just a janitor." Rebecca felt her chest tighten. Lucas shifted uncomfortably. "Harper, we really should. But his daughter continued. They don't know he's the best dad in the whole world. He makes me pancakes shaped like stars every Sunday. And when I have nightmares about Mom, he stays up all night with me. The mention of the mother hung in the air. Rebecca saw Lucas's jaw tighten, saw grief flash across his face before he controlled his expression. That's enough, sweetheart. M. Hayes has work to do. He was already guiding Harper toward the door, already retreating. Rebecca felt something rise in her throat. Wait, she said. Harper, how are you with numbers? The girl brightened. Really good. Dad says I'm a math whiz. I can do multiplication in my... Head up to 12 or 12. Rebecca nodded slowly. I have a problem. I need someone to help me test some new educational software our company is developing. Would you be interested in being a consultant? $50 an hour, 2 hours a week after school. Lucas's expression shifted to caution. Ms. Hayes, that's very kind, but we couldn't. Rebecca held up a hand. We need authentic feedback from someone in our target demographic. Harper looked at her father with pleading eyes. Dad, that's $100 a week. Lucas's face flushed. Why? He asked simply. Why? Would you do this? Rebecca could have lied. Instead, she said, because your daughter saw something in me that I'd forgotten was there. And because nobody should be ashamed of honest work, no matter what second graders think. Lucas nodded slowly. Okay, but this stays professional. I won't have Harper thinking she's a charity. Rebecca felt the sting, understood, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 4 and Harper. Bounced on her toes. Can we start today? Rebecca checked her watch. 3:45, why not? That's how it began. 2 afternoons a week, Harper became a fixture in Rebecca's office. The girl would settle at the conference table, focused and determined. Lucas would return to his maintenance duties, checking in periodically with careful distance. Rebecca would explain concepts to Harper, watching as the girl navigated prototypes with brutal honesty. This part is boring. You should add more colors. And why does the character have to be a boy? But it wasn't just about software. Harper would talk about her mother who died 2 years ago from cancer, about Dad working 3 jobs to keep them in their apartment, about wanting to be an astronaut someday. She talked with the openness children have before they learn to guard their stories. One Tuesday in the 3rd week, Harper asked directly while working on geometry, What happened to your leg? Rebecca set down her pen. She'd perfected a dozen deflections, but something about this child made her want to be honest. I was in a car accident when I was 18. The doctors couldn't save my left leg below the knee. Harper looked up. Did it hurt? Rebecca nodded. Yes, a lot for a very long time. The girl considered this. Does it still hurt now? Rebecca thought about both kinds of pain sometimes, but I've learned to live with it. Harper returned to her geometry, then said without looking up, Mom's cancer hurt a lot too. After she died, I thought maybe the hurt would stop, but it didn't. It just changed into a different kind of hurt. But Dad says the hurt means we loved someone, and that loving someone is always worth it, even when it hurts after. Do you think that's true? Rebecca couldn't answer right away. She thought about the decade she'd spent building walls instead of connections. I don't know. I used to think avoiding hurt was the smartest choice, but maybe your dad is right. Harper smiled. You should ask him yourself. He knows a lot about love. That evening, Lucas came to collect Harper at 6:15, looking exhausted in faded jeans and an old t-shirt, but his face softened when he saw his daughter. Rebecca watched them together, saw the easy affection, and felt the loneliness of her life settle heavily. Thank you for this, Lucas said. It means more than you know. There was something in his voice that made Rebecca look closer, pride fighting desperation. She's brilliant. You're raising someone extraordinary. Lucas's smile was sad. Her mother deserves most of that credit.